So could we hear a volunteer or maybe a group from breakout group 1, first of all, please? In the interest of time, I think we've got a maximum of, make it 2 or 3 minutes. So a maximum of 3 minutes would be good. If you could summarize whatever needs to be summarized in order to energize us all. Someone from breakout group 1, please. Heather, I think you're on mute. Let me just...
Yeah, it's me.
We can hear you now.
We could break out room at 1. Yeah, so we talked about a lot of different things in terms of our dreams for a year's time. The first thing was about the world being a safer place and the positivity around reduction in criminality that we've seen. We'd like that to be a dream for the future. Secondly, about the need for a real campaign and for people to get something to get people behind. And we talked about this quite a lot, about individuals really believing in something and really getting behind it, and that continuing right into the future. Thirdly was about not just talking but doing, and that's been a big emphasis, so getting things done. And that led on to the fact that governments, local councils, all these bureaucracies suddenly have been able to do things which would have taken them years in the past, and it shows that these things can get done. And we'd like to see that the positive that's remained, so it doesn't take years to make change. The media was another bit we felt was a negative at the moment, and our dream would be that the media can start talking about positive stories and give people hope, and because it's really been a cause for fear and negativity at the moment. So our dream would be a changed media. And then finally about really listening to each other at all levels, so the listening would increase. And then lastly we talked about business and the need for businesses to really be able to continue with this kindness and not get... There was a concern about with all the unemployment that's going to happen, and we want to see a future where businesses will really continue to be kind and look after their employees, and really build on the learning from this time. So I don't know if anybody else have missed anything, or if that captures what we said.
And likewise from the other groups, if you do want to clarify anything with Heather or ask her any questions, jump in. We maybe have a little bit of time for Q&A for all of it at the end, just to sort of wrap up, but do fire clarification questions if you want to as we go. Otherwise, thank you very much, Heather and group 1. Let's move on to group number 2, please.
I think we were in group 2, weren't we, Katie?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, it's me. Hello, everybody. Really nice to meet everyone today. Great to be here. In our group, I had Emma Seymour, Jackie Davis, Linda Whittaker, and me. And we just got into energizing, Adam. We were going for it. Oh! It was just lovely. We kept going up into laughter and just this real sharing, and it started with how we'd noticed nature and engaged with nature and some of the beauty of it, me listening to a blackbird, Emma saying about being local and how she'd really loved Truro, and she'd really learnt that there were these gorgeous walks in Truro, and this went on and on and on. And then Linda jumped in saying, wow, this is all about kindness to self. And we talked about how that could be sustained in the future and how it could become infectious, but also how it's okay not to be okay. And we need to allow that to be part of our kindness to self. So if there's a day that you're feeling tired or you're sad, that's okay. That's your day for that. And then Linda had whole go viral appeal. You know, I just love to see it really get going. It's just going to go viral. And then we had some poems, and if I get time just at the end or something like that, it'd be lovely actually to hear Emma's poem, which is about the river. I read a poem about a smile. Some of you may know it, about a smile costs nothing. And we talked about smiling. We talked about fear now, and how sometimes a smile or getting an atmosphere can create a kind of giving that other person the okay. It's okay. It's okay that we're passing one another in the street, and it's okay that you're afraid. you know, I'm just acknowledging that. That became part of kindness. And then how do we sustain it in long term? And then there was just a lot of laughter. So there was an awful lot of laughter going on. But is that all right, Katie? Could Emma read the river poem?
I would love to hear. I'd
Okay,
love to
I'm
hear the
going to
poem.
mute Emma.
Hello, sorry, so I saw this on a memory bench in Sunny Corner in Malpas, and I think it sums up. So actually it looks over the river and it says, advice from a river: go with the flow, slow down and meander, be thoughtful of those downstream, go around the obstacles, immerse yourself in nature, stay current, the beauty is in the journey.
That's so lovely.
I think that's just, I mean, it sums up now, doesn't it? That sense of all of us doing this. I call it the COVID-19 dance. And everybody's doing it. Everyone's engaged, even if their engagement's resistance. Everyone's engaged somehow in this dance as you go down the road or in the office. You know, it's hilarious because one of our colleagues is hopeless at doing the 2-meter distance. And as he steps towards you, everybody's trying to step backwards to the wall. So it's, yeah, the COVID-19 dance, but that message from the river and engage with nature and everything I thought was beautiful. So that's us.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for bringing a different sort of modality into the conversation as well. I think the arts and just things like that have such a root, a direct connection to the heart, don't they? So that's a really, really lovely addition. Thank you, Emma, and thank you, Maria. And I've now got in my mind in people synchronized swimming in a river doing the COVID dance, like with the gentle flow of a meandering river. But hey, that's me. Could we hear from group number 3 now, please? Who was in group 3?
Is that my group? I'm not sure.
Group 3 was Gail, Jane.
Oh no.
Richard. Who's... Anyone want to take the...
I'd really like someone else to speak because I did last time, but I'm happy to if nobody else is willing. Okay. So actually, I think the feeling in our group, and we went off on a lot of tangents, was actually quite negative from some of us in terms of, you know, how can we dream when we're sleepwalking into a nightmare? And there were stories about, you know, in the COVID-19, people fighting over the last pot of yogurt and sausage roll, and there was quite a lot of talk about truth and honesty and about our political system, and the need to replace it with all kinds of altruistic anarchy, which may or may not happen. And there was an evoking of John Lennon's Imagine in quite a lot of detail, I think, and you know, the need. I think personally, you know, in Cornwall we actually mainly have we have a polarity because we don't always see the poverty, but a lot of us have very lucky lives, and there was an acknowledgement that you have to step into your own power, I think, within the group in order to do what you think is right in terms of kindness in order to be giving. And I think that's the key thing, really, was that there was a dream of you know, the whole hierarchical structures within the workplace and within politics kind of breaking down, which, you know, the COVID-19 shock may or may not be the start of. I think it's good to mention as well that Gail talked a little bit about her work with parents of children or young people. I suppose they're under 18s, but they're not children, maybe. Where you know, these parents have got a situation where they have a child who maybe can't work with the system and that they're battling against the bureaucracy, and that actually, you know, there's incredibly disempowerment and there's a big power vacuum. So a lot around how we could reweave things and create the magic of a life where people's personal power was more able to be brought. And finally, I think that I forget her name. What was her name? That lady, Annabelle. That's it. Annabelle was talking in quite positive terms about being a health and wellbeing coordinator for an accountancy firm where everything is open and transparent, and that it feels like, you know, there's a lot of vulnerability and quite literally caring in that workplace, and just, you know, sounds wonderful. I think a couple of us said, and wouldn't it be brilliant if everything were like that?
Well, it's brilliant to hear that's happening in some corners of the commercial world, certainly. And vulnerability in the workplace has been a theme from some of our people representing the private sector and the business sector in the last few days as a really important part of the mix. So that is really positive to hear. And thanks, Richard, for bringing in the sort of more nightmarish and destructive elements of dreaming and the imagination and reality as well, because that's part of the mix, and part of a creative process probably involves some discomfort and some destruction, maybe as well, some dismantling and some anarchy, even some, what did he call it, creative anarchy? Something anarchy.
Altruistic
anarchy, yeah. And thanks for stepping forward to speak again. Thank you, Group 3. And let's move on to Group number 4, please.
Holly, this is your group.
Thank you. So we started by talking about education and young people, and how we think things should take a step back from being academic sometimes, and still having that there because it needs to be, but taking more of a focus on community and inspiring young people to want to be part of their community and do something, rather than just focus on getting the grades at the end of school, but instead to come out of it with a brilliant view on their community and things they can be doing to help others. So showing that there's more options for a career, I think, is really important. We also spoke about how equality is so important at all levels, and that although now we're appreciating all acts of kindness and the people that we really need, I think that's something that needs to carry on, which is what got us speaking about how we do need a campaign, and how that's what gets people involved. So starting with a small idea and getting as many people involved as possible. And also just not being afraid to smile, encouraging that. And I think that we all need a moment of silliness and letting go, and not thinking about who the people are we're engaging with and what other things are going on, but really just purely thinking about the kindness and the happiness, which I think will help a lot of people. We also spoke about in the community how it would be a dream for everyone to have seen, performed and received an act of kindness. How amazing that would be if you could just go out your door and you could know all the amazing things that have happened just within a few minutes walk away. That would just be amazing, I think. And we also spoke about the people who aren't there. So in these community events, the people that aren't connected, and although we go out and clap for carers and things like that, who are the people who aren't involved and aren't there? Because we can think about the people, we can see the people that are there, but we need to consider who isn't there and how those people can also feel engaged and inspired like the rest of us. So I think that kind of sums up what we did. I don't know if I've missed anything.
Nods and smiles from your other group members there, Holly. So I think you've done a good job there by the look of it. And I dipped into your group briefly and certainly felt a change in my own energy from the, as I joined, Sharon was speaking and a couple of other comments, and you were managing the group well. So thanks. Really nice summary of some beautiful ideas there. And I actually have a a friend of mine wants to build a monument, and she's looking for someone to build it for and somehow to build it. So I'll pass your idea on to her, and we can collaborate on that maybe. The other thing I thought about while you were talking was the Dalai Lama, because a turning point in my life, which was quite recently, I was reading the Book of Joy, which is an interview with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu spend a week together. And they're both famous for laughing and being silly. And the interviewer asked them, like, how do you sort of do this daily silliness and still be connected with the world? And they said, well, don't be under any illusion. We weep on a daily basis. We feel the pain, and it's actually our ability to feel the pain and to strengthen our mental muscles for empathizing deeply and letting some of that go in crying on a daily basis that gives us the freedom and the freedom to also be silly. And that helped me to realize the two are not in any way mutually exclusive, or it doesn't mean that you're forgetting one by doing the other. And actually it's quite possible to bounce from one to the other and back again within the same day, or possibly in the same moment. So I like the silliness, and I like the dreams of silliness as well as pain and connection. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much. Are there any other comments people wanted to add or reflections people have? We've got a few minutes of luxury to do that, or even another poem, Maria, if you wanted to share another one at this point. You're currently on mute. Let me just unmute. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I've got the other one we read, which was the one that's sitting in front of me on my desk, which is A Smile. Shall I read that one?
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. Thanks.
It's a little beauty.
Al's just waving goodbye. Are you off, Al?
Yeah.
Thanks very much for joining us. Good to see you. Cheers.
And you.
Okay, a smile. A smile costs nothing, but gives much. It enriches those who receive without making poorer those who give. It takes but a moment, but the memory of it sometimes lasts forever. None is so rich or mighty that he can get along without it, and none is so poor but that he can be made rich by it. A smile creates happiness in the home, fosters goodwill in business, and is the countersign of friendship. It brings rest to the weary, cheer to the discouraged, sunshine to the sad, and is nature's best antidote for trouble. Yet it cannot be bought, begged, borrowed, or stolen, for it is something that is of no value to anyone until it is given away. Some people are too tired to give you a smile. Give them one of yours, as none needs a smile as much as he or she who has no more to give.
Oh, that's amazing. Gave me goosebumps. So lovely.
Telling them this came from my last line manager at Age UK Cornwall, Niaza Silly, who I absolutely loved, and we are still in contact. And she worked from the premise of laughter therapy. And in this last few months, I had a day that I completely collapsed in tears. I felt I'd lost everything to do with my job role. I was devastated by everything that's going on, and I rang the manager who was taking care of me, because we've had a gap, my HR manager. And in the middle of my sobs, she said, "You're a writer, Maria, aren't you? What about doing some free writing?" And I shared that with our Lapidus group, and one of them put up in the chat, "I wish I had an HR manager who'd suggest something like that." So hearing that, it does happen, but it's also taken a long time for the charity to start to embrace all those things and really act on them and work on them. So but it's lovely, and I just love that she left it on my desk after she'd left to make sure to remind me that she was still there. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Thank you. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, not at all. Thank you. Thank you. Please don't apologise. Sharon.
Could I just ask who wrote those poems? Have you got the actual names of who wrote them at all?
No, it only says who published this one. Maybe it's an anonymous. So it's called A Smile, and starts with "A smile costs nothing." So it's bound to be on.
It'll probably come up on Google or whatever if I Google it.
Yeah.
The other one was Advice for Reader. Yeah. Okay, thank
I've
you.
just popped the first line into the chat as well if people want to copy paste it and Google it and try and find that. And
Yeah, the advice from a river, that was great as well.
yeah, and I think it did. Yes, Emma's copied that into the chat there, so we've got a copy of that whole poem. Is that the last line? Stay current. Of the river poem.
It's
Yes.
the stay current, the beauty is in the journey, but I haven't got the author from it. Sorry.
Oh, the beauty, there's the next line. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And I must say that even the words, that's poetry to my ears. The words, "This came from my line manager." I love that. And by the sound of it, it's happening in the charity sector, and by the sound of what Annabelle might have been saying, that sort of thing's also happening in the private sector. This is music to my ears. This is poetry. I love that. Wonderful. Well, we're going to draw to a close in a few minutes. So if anyone else wants to add anything, please do. The chat is something that you can save and keep for yourselves. I'll also have a copy of it so we can share and maybe post some of those things too. But if anyone else wanted to add anything or even your contact details, there was one woman who joined for the first half an hour and then had to leave. She's put her details in there. Holly Kellum is setting up a yoga studio in Newquay. She's American by the sound of it and was wearing a Hawaiian top and had an orchid behind her. And I asked her if she was in Hawaii and she said, "No, I'm in Newquay," which I said, "Oh, even better." So that's nice to know. And yes, so feel free to pop anything in the chat there. I'm just going to wrap up with a few other comments, but feel free to jump in and interrupt me if anyone else wants to.
Could we all just take like 10 seconds?
Oh.
And I think a really really nice way of summarizing what you dream about is to put it into one word. So if you could just like choose one word that summarizes how this session, what you dream about. So literally answering, imagine you woke up in 2021 and everything had changed and you knew kindness was flourishing. One word about your biggest wish for the future, and you can pop that into the chat, and I'd love to read them and see what everyone thinks of. Yeah, I think that's a really nice way of kind of drawing everything we've kind of spoken about into. Sometimes it is as simple as one word, and that's what you can strive for, rather than all these big ideas. Sometimes it really is as simple as striving for one word. Back to you, Adam, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Katie, and sorry for sort of slightly cutting you short. And
That's all right.
Nice, lovely idea. That was a nice meditative moment. So the week continues. We're about halfway through now. We started with defining kindness on Monday, discovering how it's working, where it's working yesterday. Today was about dreaming about kindness, obviously. Tomorrow we get to be a bit provocative and to move towards action by doing a stage which we calling design kindness. And so we are going to be taking these dreams and discoveries and definitions and starting to shape what the principle calls provocative propositions. So literally the first provocative proposition that came to my mind was Jacinda Ardern for Prime Minister. You know, it's a slogan, whatever. You know, so these propositions, they don't have to be sentences, just ideas, which might be actionable even if we don't know what the actions are. I'll explain more about that tomorrow, but that's what we're doing tomorrow. So on Friday, we can actually form, well, what groups shall we continue and what shall we do to continue to learn and continue to act. So you're very welcome there. If you haven't registered already, you can do that on the Facebook page, Cornwell Fest, or on the website, which is also cornwellfest.com. And it'll be great to see you again, or any new people as well, so feel free to invite others. The survey data you've all got the link to, we'll maybe post that and make that public, and feel free to share that with others as well. And apart from final massive thank you to you all for your wonderful energy and contributions, I'm now just going to post in the chat a link, but I'll also email you guys it as well, a feedback form for today, because it's really helpful for us to know. We get a bit more feedback in these interactive sessions during the group, but it's really helpful to know your reflections and perspectives when you've had a moment to think about that. Just a few questions there for you. So you could either copy paste that link into your thing and do that now, or get it from the chat later, or I'll email it to you. But other than that, unless anyone else would like to add anything else poetic and beautiful or dreamy, or any final comments, thank you all very much for joining. Have a wonderful day, and thanks again for managing your conversations and feeding back so beautifully, and we'll see you tomorrow or in due course. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Great call, Adam. I enjoyed it.
Oh, cheers, Richard. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Adam. Lovely to see you.
Oh, Maria, it's lovely to see you too. Thanks so much for all of that. It's really nice.
I'll be involved tomorrow as well. And Linda's one of my new team members. So they started working on Monday.
Oh,
And you've
wonderful.
had Ellen Stevens as well. And
Oh,
she's
yes.
the other one. So they're now community navigators and I'm the program coordinator. So
Fabulous.
I got my whole team on it in the first week.
Oh, amazing.
Good job.
So I'll see
Yeah.
you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Great to see you.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye.